Able to see my screen?
Yes.
I will switch to presenters mode. Let me know if everything's okay. So you're able to see this slide show now?
Yes.
Perfect. So I can see there are about 15 participants. We can wait if you want. Up to you.
Maybe we'll give just a couple of minutes and then we will start.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I can wait. I mean, if everybody else is okay.
Yeah, usually, the session would have started and then, we see the number of participants increasing, and also considering that it's a Saturday morning, right? So
Yeah, Saturday morning is always a tough day.
yeah.
Tough morning, actually. Yeah.
But I hope you're feeling better.
Well, yeah, I mean, feeling a little better. Have my physiotherapy sessions and all going on. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, but I know that you are in safe hands because you said your wife is a doctor. So
Yeah. So that's an advantage. However, I have to deal with this pain. So
no doubt about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll keep adjusting my leg. Pardon me if I just keep moving and bending and all that. I'm just adjusting my leg. According to the convenience.
Yeah, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll start in about a minute. We'll start at 7:35.
Sure. In fact, I should really thank Uttam for this opportunity. I personally was not aware of BVA. Of course, a lot of people who I know, they are a part of BVA. And in fact, they called me yesterday after receiving the flyers and the information saying, Harsh, are you speaking tomorrow? I said, yeah, I will be. So thank you so much, Uttam, and thanks, Kusum, for coordinating all of this.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I mean, BVA also always endeavors towards spreading, discussions, spreading knowledge on valuations and all this stuff. And it would be good to hear from the business as to their expectations from valuers. So that was primarily the reason.
My topic is slightly off track, maybe. It's a slightly new topic, not related to the business where I am, but I'll try relating this to the business as much as I can. Whatever we are talking, but I hope
and more
this.
So, I think what we
helps.
are really looking forward to is your first-hand experience, because we know you were a part of a deal, and how the deal entirely went about. What is the product about, and how the deal went about, and of course, whatever your insights into valuations regarding the deal.
Yeah, sure, 100%, 100%. There's more than one. There's more than one slide. But a couple of slides completely dedicated to the deals and what I actually worked on. So we'll go through all of that. But okay, once people join, maybe I can take you through the sequence. Yeah.
Shall we?
Yeah, we should. Uttam, very good morning to everybody who's present at Bangalore Valuers Association this morning. I kindly request Uttam to introduce the speaker and start the session. Thank you.
Thanks, Kusum. Good morning, everyone. I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Harsh Taneti. Harsh Taneti is a BCom graduate. He has a MSc in International Accounting and Finance. He is also a Chartered Certified Accountant. He has more than a decade of experience in corporate development, M&A and strategy, business finance, strategic partnerships. His core expertise is in M&A, strategy, business finance, finance operations, partnerships, joint ventures, and project management. He has worked on deals worth more than $1 billion US, primarily mid-market transactions. He has also handled negotiations on joint ventures, partnerships, licensing, and distribution arrangements. He has managed financial organizations handling more than $3 billion in revenue, as well as experience in startup environment. His skill sets include strategy and planning, mergers and acquisitions, transaction origination, execution, buy-side and sell-side M&A advisory, PE fundraising, financial modeling, valuations, negotiations and documentations, business finance and finance leadership. I have worked with Harsh on a transaction and I'm baffled by his commitment. I'd like to inform BVA that Harsh has met with an accident and is undergoing physiotherapy. Despite this, he has not flinched on his commitment and he is present before us. On behalf of BVA, I wish Harsh a speedy recovery. Thank you. Over to you, Harsh.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Uttam and Kusum, for this. I must tell you, I must tell all of you, I'm really honored to, for this opportunity. In fact, when Uttam told me first, I couldn't say no, and later I thought, okay, I was actually thinking about what topic to talk, topic to talk on, and stuff like that. But then I think the topic that we're going to discuss today, I think it will really add value to all of us because this is something emerging these days, and there's a lot of talk happening in the market. There's a lot of discussion happening in the market around this particular topic. So I hope this will really add value. And just to give you a brief about myself, I'm working as General Manager Finance with IBUS Networks and Technologies, mainly handling deals and FP&A here. About 70% of my time goes towards handling the deals, both buy side and sell side, also the equity and the debt funding that the company looks at. And of course, that as a part of my work, I deal on a regular basis with the investment bankers, with the valuers, both merchant bankers, registered valuers and the merchant bankers and stuff like that, and also the FP&A activities, which comprises about 30% of the work that I'm doing here, which also mainly because I'm a part of the internal strategy team here, so the FP&A activity falls into my bucket. So that's what I do primarily here. Prior to working with IBUS Networks and Technologies, I worked with companies like D-Voice Communications, DE Shaw, based out of Luxembourg, where I was a part of deal structuring team, not the deal sourcing, but the deal structuring team, mainly involving entity organization, entity structuring, and stuff like that for the investment base that the company has, or that the fund has. I must say, because DE Shaw was a hedge fund, which was based out of Luxembourg, of course, a US-based hedge fund, which had its operations in Luxembourg, and through Luxembourg, the fund used to invest in various other countries in Europe, mainly Spain. I mean, I used to handle the Spanish economies and the French investments there. Before that, I worked with companies like EY, Brahma and Company. That's where I did my articleship, and Madura Courts, in various profiles as an internal auditor, as of course, articled assistant, and as an auditor, statutory auditor. I have a master's degree from EDEC Business School, based out of France. I have a master's degree in finance, specializing in corporate finance. So that's a bit about my profile. Without spending too much of time on this, now let us quickly get into the topic, which is, the heading says the $1 trillion reasons to rethink blockchain and what's in it for value is, right? Yes. Allow me a second. Yeah. So in this topic today, what we'll be covering mainly is, of course, the overview of blockchain, what blockchain is, what really blockchain is. Is it an application? Is it a technology? Is it hardware? Is it just a group of people? You must have heard about Satoshi Nakamoto, a group of people or a person who created this technology. What really blockchain is and how it can add value to the existing economy, and what sort of value we are looking at 5 years, 6 years, 7 years down the line from this technology, and of course the products of this technology. So that's where we'll spend quite a bit of time to understand what blockchain is, and the products they're from. And then we will quickly jump into cryptocurrency, which is the hotshot topic these days. Basically, what cryptocurrencies are, how the cryptocurrencies emerged, what are the types of cryptocurrencies, and how the cryptocurrencies basically move, as in the life cycle of the cryptocurrency, and things like that. And we'll also touch upon the crypto deals that happened recently. I'll also talk about a couple of course, without naming them, a couple of practical deals that I was a part of when I was in Luxembourg. That's the second agenda. Now, the third topic is tokens and ICOs. Tokens and coins are slightly different in terms of their usage, in terms of what they are, and ICOs, which are similar to IPOs, what we know already. ICOs means initial coin offerings. So basically, we'll talk about what ICOs are, and then we'll quickly jump into the valuations. That's where we'll spend considerable amount of time to understand how to value a crypto deal, or how to value a crypto, basically, or how to value a digital asset backed by blockchain technology, and the challenges involved therein. And the next topic, then we'll quickly jump into the blockchain M&A. Now, the crypto deals, the token deals, and blockchain M&A, these three are different. In fact, crypto deals and token deals are basically subset of blockchain M&A. We'll talk about the blockchain M&A in a wider as a wider topic, as a bigger topic. And we'll not get into too much of detail, but we'll quickly touch upon the kind of deals that happen, and then we'll have a look at something interesting as a last slide. We'll look at the crypto life cycle. If that sounds like a plan, let's move ahead. What is blockchain? Blockchain, you must have heard a lot about blockchain, words like distributed ledger, peer-to-peer network, cryptography, a technology which is basically non-hackable and stuff like that. But what really is blockchain? Is it a technology, or is it an application? Is it a software? Is it a hardware? What really it is? Blockchain is actually a technology. It's not an application. It's not a software. It's not a platform. It's basically a technology which can be applied to any of the existing technologies to sort of enhance the functioning of the existing technology. So that's what blockchain really is in very, very, very simple terms. So to get into the detail, and also let me tell you, it's such a powerful technology, more powerful than the Facebooks of today, than the LinkedIn's of today, than the Web 2 applications of today. It's so much, it's so powerful that it has the potential to change the way the economy is working right now. It has the potential to completely change the way the applications are moving right now. It has the potential to change the way the governments are working. It has the potential to change the way the political system is working. It has got that much of a potential, which we'll talk about in the coming slides and in the coming topics. Yeah. So blockchain, as it says, is a list of data records that works as decentralized ledger, which means there's no centralization happening here. It's all decentralized. It's scattered. It's available with everyone. And I call it as Internet of Value than the Internet of Information as it is today. And then it, of course, is a distributed ledger technology, as I spoke. And it's basically a peer-to-peer network where every computer or every user is basically called as a node. And from there, the data transmission happens. And from there, the approvals happen. From there, the consensus happen. We'll talk about all that in the coming slides. And of course, blockchains are immutable because they're decentralized, because there's this concept of consensus, because it's peer-to-peer. So that's what is blockchain in brief. We'll go through all of this in detail. Now, this is the highlight that we are going to talk about today: how blockchain will add about 1.76 trillion to the economy by 2030. Now, that's quite a bit of a number. That's a huge number, and we'll see how that number is coming to how this number how from where we arrived at this number. Primarily, the main benefits, or the main beneficiary of this particular technology in about 5 to 7 years down the line will be public administration, education, and healthcare. We'll talk about and collectively these three are getting benefits to the tune of about 574 billion. We'll see how. First aspect, or first uh, uh, you know, the very first point here is to make here is provenance, which is adding to about 962 billion. Now, this provenance is basically provenance is nothing but the source of the point of origin, or the source from where any particular thing originates. Now, this is of a huge importance because you should have a trail. The economy, anything in the economy, may be manufacturing, may be education, may be medical, may be public sector, public administration, healthcare, or whatever it is. Trail is very important, the point of origin of a particular thing, because I mean, if things go wrong, you should be able to find out where exactly the problem happened, from where the anomaly, or from where the particular item originated, so that you can go and correct, or you can at least go and change the way it works. That is very important, and that right now today, if you take an example of logistics company, that's sort of decentralized. Now, the records which are there are basically mutable, right? And blockchain makes it immutable. We'll talk about how, but for now, let's understand that the provenance, this particular aspect, is contributing to about 962 billion out of 1.76 trillion that we are talking about. The second aspect is the payments and the financial instruments. So whenever you send a file to someone, let's say if I send a file to someone, I circulate this PPT among BVA, I'm basically sending a copy. I'm retaining the original with me. I'm basically sending a copy. But in case of financial instruments like money, like fiat money, what we have today, if I send 100 rupees to you, it's very important that I don't have the 100 rupees with me, right? It's very important. It's something basic and it's very important. So to ensure that we have something called intermediaries today, which is basically banks and the other financial institutions, who basically maintain all the records, who basically do the transactions, who do the settlements, settlements is a very important term to note here, who do all the settlements on our behalf. Now, this settlement takes about 2 days, 3 days, weeks in case of foreign transfers. Even today, if I have to send money to my brother who is in France, if I send him 10,000 euros, he will receive it only after 4 days or 5 days, after going through multiple checks in Indian banking system, in foreign banking system, before the money lands into his account. About 20 to 30 euros would have gotten deducted. And I'll be paying fees on top of that, GST on top of that, everything else. So that's the thing that we're looking at. So with blockchain, all of this can be avoided. I can send money to my brother real time, 10,000 euros within a couple of minutes. So that's the power of blockchain, which contributes to about 433 billion to the economy. Third one is the identity. Aadhaar card, just an example, Aadhaar card. Records are still not safe. We hear stories about the Aadhaar data getting leaked and stuff like that. Blockchain can really help. We'll see how in the coming slides. That will add about 222 billion. Contracts and dispute resolution. You must have heard about smart contracts that the blockchain is coming with, right? Smart contracts is one of the smartest feature after crypto, of course, that the blockchain has, which has got the potential to sort of completely stop or completely end the involvement of middlemen like the lawyers. Of course, to draft a contract you need, but then to maintain the contract, to sort of resolve any dispute, you still need them. And with this particular thing, you don't need them at all. So that contributes about 73 billion here. And finally, the customer engagement, like Salesforce and stuff like that you have for today to basically manage your customer relationships. Now that can be handled with a lot more peace. About 54 billion is the contribution that is coming out of that. So this is the brief about blockchain. Now let's see how this technology works without spending too much of time here. Let's see how this technology works, and then we'll get into crypto and valuation, guys. Please bear with me for about a couple of slides. I'll just explain what the blockchain is, because it's very important to know what blockchain is before even you get into crypto. Blockchain, as I said, it's basically a chain of blocks, right? So each and every data, each and every instance, basically in a blockchain is a block, right? So what happens is, whenever a new block gets created, or whenever a new transaction happens in the block of in the chain of such blocks, the new transaction gets added to the existing chain. Now that's what happens in the current system. But then what's so special here? every block will have a hash of the previous block, which will contain the history of the transactions that happened before. And then it will have the data, then it will have the hash of the existing block. Now this hash is nothing but the algorithm, which is basically SHA-256 in case of Bitcoin. So it's the algorithm based on which the blockchain technology, the blockchain application would have gotten created, not the application, the blockchain technology, right? And then this block will also have the data. Now you can imagine of it as a cube having the hash of the previous block, hash of the current block, which is basically the algorithm, which is covered by sufficiently covered by cryptography so that it's not mutable. And then you have the data. Now this translates into something like this. Every transaction will have a hash of the previous block, will have the hash of the existing block, will also have the data. So what happens is, uh, what does this translate into? We will see that in the next slide. What happens with a system like this? It gives rise to something called a peer-to-peer network, where everybody has information of, let's say, let's take an example of a banking system. Everybody has the ledger, but then you can open the ledger only if you have something called a public key and a private key. Now it's slightly difficult to understand, but then imagine of it as a key to sort of open the information. You have the information with you. There's a lot of work happening in the backend, but you cannot access the information unless you have the access through a key. This is what we were talking about. Instead of storing the data in a large network, which is happening in the current scenario, a peer-to-peer network is created and every node will have the data. Now, what does this mean? You come to a situation like this where any transaction that has to happen should have something called the consensus. Now we spoke about the block, we spoke about the hash function, we spoke about SHA-256 in case of Bitcoin. But then what that really is, that really means any transaction that has to be added. Let's say if I have to transfer 100 rupees to someone, some ABC, that 100 rupees, now that has to be authenticated by all the nodes in the block. Now those nodes can run into millions and billions. All those nodes have to accept, because they all know how much money I actually have. Only if I have something more than 100 rupees, I can send 100 rupees to someone. And that consensus here is absolutely necessary before any transaction takes place. And that's why any attacker who tries to tamper with the data on the blockchain has to tamper with all the nodes in the system. First, he has to change all the nodes in the system. And then he has to make all the nodes accept that I actually have 100 rupees. And all this has to happen within a couple of minutes. Otherwise, the transaction gets rejected. So for a hacker, it's practically not possible to hack the system. It's practically not possible. Only if there are less than 10 or less than 20 nodes, he'll be able to do. But anything more than that number is practically not possible for anyone to do within a couple of minutes, because he has to hack all the hash algorithms there, and then try to change all the nodes, try to change the data in all the nodes, and then sort of carry out a phishing activity. So that's basically not possible. So this is blockchain in brief. So before we move into the next topic, which is basically the applications of blockchain, where the blockchain is getting used, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I'll allow you about 5 seconds. Maybe think and put your questions forward, please. Because it's very important to understand blockchain before even you get into crypto or something like token deals or tokens and ICOs and stuff like that.
Could you please tell about the 256? That's something that you were mentioning.
Yeah, so SHA-256, it's nothing but, okay, don't get confused by the terminology. It's nothing but a kind of algorithm that the Bitcoin uses in the blockchain. So you can create, so blockchain is all about hash functions. Blockchain is all about cryptography. Now that cryptography, I can create a hash function in my own way, and I can name it as H125. right? So the algorithm can change from company to company. Now the power of blockchain depends on how strong your algorithm is. More or less all the companies in this world have their own algorithm, except for a few quite a few small companies that use the algorithm of the big companies like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Now Ethereum has its own algorithm, which is called ETH. I think ETH 15, and then SHA 256 is the algorithm that is used by Bitcoin. Now the algorithm that the same algorithm that the other companies also use are basically called tokens. I mean the cryptos or the products that these companies that the other companies use out of the existing algorithms are the tokens, which we'll talk about in the coming slides. But SHA 256 is nothing but a type of algorithm. It's just a it's just a one among 10 types of 10 or 15, just an example, 10 or 15 types of algorithms available out there. Yeah.
Harsh, can you please explain one transaction to present your explanation on blockchain, like consensus and node? We would like to understand that.
Yeah, sure. So if I have to explain it, I'll go back to the existing. I mean, go back to this particular slide. Are you able to see this slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's take an example here. If I have to, let's take an example of financial transaction, because logistics or anything, a medical transaction or anything is a little complicated to understand. Finance is always easy to understand because we're talking in terms of money, and all of us are money sort of money people here. So if I have to send 100 rupees to someone, now the existing system should also should have information about these particular items. The system should have information about me, who I am, what I'm doing, basically my KYC, right? And then the existing system should also have the amount of money that I'm already having, because it's very important. As I said, it's very important. If I'm sending 100 rupees to anyone, if I'm sending a rupee to anyone for that matter, that 100 rupees or a rupee should not be retained. I mean, I should not have a copy of it, to be simple. Just like how it is happening in the internet of information these days, which is Web 2. I am only sending copy, but I am retaining the original. So something like that. I should not have a copy of that. I should not have that 100 rupees still with me. So when I send that information, the existing system or the existing network already has the information that Harsh is having 100 rupees, and he's going to send this 100 rupees to A, B, C, or whatever it is. Now, when I initiate the transaction, that transaction becomes a block. I mean, before it gets added to the chain, it becomes a block wherein all the other previous transactions done by me and transactions done by me and transactions done by the other people with me will have, it'll have a hash function which will have basically all the data related to the previous block. And similarly, the previous block will have a hash function which will have again the data until the previous block. So every transaction or every instance in this point is actually a block. So when I initiate a transaction of 100 rupees, it's actually a block which will have the instance of the previous block, which will have the algorithm of the current block, which in case of Bitcoin, as I said, is SHA 256. And also it will have the data. This data is nothing but the transaction that I'm doing currently. And then this particular thing gets added to the block in this way, right? So what happens, this block already has information relating to the previous block, which is not in the form of the absolute information. It's in the form of a hash function. It's basically cryptographed, and it can be opened only by the people who have access to it. It's basically me, because I have the private key, I have the password to open my particular part of the transactions, right? So every transaction here gets added as a block. If someone has to tamper with, let's say, this particular block, because they don't want to show that I have 100 rupees, but they want to show that I have 50 rupees, he will have to tamper this block. He will have to first hack this hash function, which is first of all very, very, very difficult to hack, because this will run into some codes and numbers and everything, and it will have millions and millions of alphabets and digits. But let's assume he has a supercomputer which is capable of doing it, which is practically not the case, but still he has the computer, let's say. he will have to alter this transaction in this particular node, and then he will have to alter transactions in all the nodes present across the system, present across the network, which practically is not possible for him. That's why that gives rise to something like this. Now, before a block gets added to a chain, all the nodes in the other block will have to accept that particular thing. And the time taken by all the nodes, other nodes to accept a particular transaction or particular addition to a new block is basically 10 minutes. Now it happens automatically. There's no one sitting over there. There's no one sitting over there virtually to basically, approve all the transactions in the other nodes. And that's where the concept of mining comes. I'm not getting into the concept of mining because that will again take a lot of time and efforts here, which we can do probably in the next session or sometime later. That's where the concept of mining also comes. But then this concept of consensus is very important before a block gets added to the chain, and that's how the transaction takes place. Hope I was able to answer.
Yes, it was very clear.
Perfect. Any other questions at this point?
Sir, nodes are some kind of a code, sir?
No, nodes are not kind of codes. Nodes are basically the number of users in the chain, or the number of users in the network. Each and every user or each and every computer in the network where the data is stored is basically a node. The number of users or the number of instances or the number of computers in the existing network, they are the nodes.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, what happens if the hash is corrupted?
Sorry?
In the block? What happens
your
if the hash
voice is breaking, Sanjay.
Okay, I'm saying what happens if the hash is corrupted in the block?
Okay, the hash, number one, we'll come to that. That's a very good question. We'll come to that in the coming slides. In fact, a couple of slides after this particular slide, we'll talk about that, but on a very lighter note, of course. But the chance of a hash getting compromised is very difficult, because if you want to hack a hash, or if you want to change the hash, the existing hash, you have to change all the hashes. Because as I said, it's a chain of activities, right? So you have to change all the hashes in order to change one particular hash, right? And it's very difficult to go to the very first hash and then change it, and even then you have to change all the other hashes that happened after. So that's why blockchain is something which is irreversible. Once the transaction enters the chain, once the transaction enters the network, it's very difficult to tamper with that particular thing, because even if I want to change, let's say in a hash function or in a hash sequence, even if I have to change one alphabet, I have to change that particular alphabet in all the hashes preceding that particular hash. Or even if I change the very first hash, or the very first, the origination point, if I go to the origination point and if I change the hash, the others, they don't get changed automatically. I still have to change all the hashes in the other system. And this particular activity I have to do across all the nodes in the system, which makes it practically impossible for anyone to change or to alter the data.
No, so actually, I don't know whether I'm able to explain. Let's say that we take an Excel sheet, correct? And we say that we are doing a transaction now. And then we link that formula to a previous cell. Now, instead of linking it with the previous cell, I erroneously link it to another cell, which means I give a different hash while creating that transaction. So then what happens? Then it will go into a different direction, correct? And
it won't get added, because that's where the concept of consensus comes. If I may interrupt, I'm sorry I interrupted.
No,
but that's where the concept of consensus comes, because even if I try to make a change here, the others still have a copy. It's not a copy, but then it's a distributed ledger. Everybody has the original. If I want to make a change here, the others should accept the change. Now, how will you justify to all the other millions and billions of computers spread across the world where my data is there? Of course, they cannot open the data unless I consent, or only I have the authority to change the data. All the other nodes, even if let's say a hacker is smart enough, powerful enough to change all the hash functions across my node, how will he seek the consensus of the other nodes to say, okay, no, this was a mistake and we have to correct it. Now that's practically difficult, right?
Right. So actually, he cannot go to all the people. That's the difficulty.
That's
And
the
once that
difficulty.
is resolved, then this can be done. Otherwise, it cannot be done.
Yes, yes, and they were. I mean, in the initial. I mean, that's a very good question that you asked. But then in the very initial stages in 2008, when 2008, 2007, when this particular technology was introduced by a person or a group of persons, we don't know. Basically, we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. But then that particular. I mean, it was through a research paper that he introduced the world to this concept of Bitcoin, backed by a technology called blockchain technology. And in the initial stages, still people were able to do, because it was all new technology is spread across only 2 or 3 computers, 3 or 4 nodes. But then when it increased from 2 to 3 nodes to 10 nodes, 20 nodes, 30 nodes, and then now billions and millions and billions of nodes, it's practically not possible for anyone to go and change, because none of the supercomputers existing today have the capability to sort of do that.
Right. Thank you.
Can we go to the next topic? Next
Yes.
slide.
Yes, please.
Perfect. Let's see the applications of blockchain. Very first one is the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just one among the other cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is basically a cryptocurrency backed by the technology called blockchain, which we just spoke about. And then Bitcoin, similar to Bitcoin, there are a lot of other coins available in the market, like Ethereum, like you have. I mean, in India, you have something called Kuber Exchange, which also distributes certain kind of coins. There's a lot of coins available in the market. Of course, Bitcoin, Ethereum are one of the, Bitcoin value is almost close to 13 lakhs, 14 lakhs per coin today, and they get traded and stuff like that. That's one of the applications of blockchain, which is very famous also. You have digital IDs, digital authentication. Basically, all the records of all the individuals across the world can be saved in a technology called blockchain, which cannot be altered. You do whatever you want, and we just discussed why it is possible. And then you have banking system. Of course, we just spoke about that, how blockchain can add value to the platform, to the existing.
Sorry to interrupt. One question.
Problem.
You said just now that the ID cannot be altered, correct?
Yeah.
And let's say that I'm making my Aadhaar card. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's an error in my Aadhaar card, and that gets blockchain approved. Now you're saying that it will be impossible for me to correct my record.
Yeah. So if there is an error in your Aadhaar card, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the very first question or the very first point is who this data belongs to. This data belongs to you. This data belongs to you. Now you have the private key and you have the public key to access that particular data, right? So if you have the if I have my bank account, and if I initiate a transaction from my bank account of, let's say, 100 rupees, and if I forget about the 100 rupees for a while, but if I change my address in my existing banking system, right, I'm changing something which is basically private to me, that gets changed across all the systems, because I initiated that particular change. It was not done by a hacker or by someone else. No one tried to manipulate the data, right? The manipulation of the data, or the alteration of the data, was basically initiated by me, who own the data. Now,
if somebody has my credentials, just to stretch it further, if somebody has my credential, so then that can be done technically. I don't have to go to thousands of millions of nodes to do it, correct?
Obviously, I mean, someone should be smart enough to basically save their own credentials.
Yes. So
now
the thing is that
that's a limitation.
be...
That's a limitation, or that's a point to consider in any technology. Yes. I mean, if I have a phone, I should be smart enough to not tell my password or to not reveal my PIN to anybody else. Now, at some point in time, that particular check is necessary, because that's the last point of defense that you have: your password, your credentials. Now, what you said is right, 100%.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Banking system. We just discussed about banking. And then comes the payments and transfers, basically sending the money. It's not only about sending money within the country, but sending money from abroad to India, or from India to abroad, or between the nations. It's a 600 billion market today. the transfer between the nations. It's a 600 billion market today, and imagine the kind of money that the intermediaries are making in this whole process. Then you have something called real estate, where all the records. I mean, imagine you have a property document, and then after a year or after 2 years, the local M&A comes and says, "Hey, Harsh, come here." I mean, I appreciate that you have something called a document, a property document, but then in the government records, it shows that my friend actually owns the property and not you. Now, that's one of the biggest problems that we face today, right? Uh, the property records are getting altered, the property records are getting changed. People have the right to own the property. People have all the legal. I mean, I think that I legally own this property or this particular land, but then if I go and check the government records, it would have changed. No one knows who changed. Absolutely no one knows who changed, because I have the original documents, the other person has the original documents. No one knows which one is right. With blockchain, this particular thing can be completely eliminated. And this whole process, and in this whole process, in the existing system, people who make money are basically the intermediaries, which are, I mean, the brokers, the dealers, the land dealers, or the real estate dealers, or the lawyers. All these people are making money for nothing. So basically, you're basically arguing something really, really basic, and blockchain has the potential to change that. And then the healthcare records are most important, no matter what. All the other transactions can go for a toss, but then healthcare cannot. This is very important. Blockchain can play a very, very, very important role here. Then you have the law enforcement, because your contracts are legal, because your contracts are all digital. You know exactly the contract has not been altered. You know exactly when the contract was altered and for what it was altered. Law enforcement becomes very easy here. Not very easy, but it becomes easier compared to what it is right now. Of course, voting, because I mean, we know the challenges that the current economy is facing in terms of elections and all. Blockchain can completely change the scenario. And precisely, I mean, we'll talk about the reason why the organizations or the bureaucracy is not letting this particular technology enter the world. Then you have something called YouTube and online music, which is very important, because you must have heard about, I mean, I don't know, Eminem, Akon, all these people are on blockchain now. They have created smart contracts, and they sell their particular rights, or they sell their particular copyrights through those smart contracts. Now YouTube and online music, they are also getting into blockchain slowly, because they find it beneficial for themselves. It's very easy to manage for them. And then you have, of course, Internet of Things, which is still emerging, which is the organizations are still basically researching about this. In fact, my organization where I'm working currently, that is also experimenting with this particular concept and see how blockchain can basically change the existing IoT functionalities. Other emerging fields include data sharing, copyrights, medicine monitoring, equity trading, tax regulations. I mean, blockchain has endless possibilities. I'm just talking about a few. Yeah. Now, without wasting much of a time, let's quickly get into crypto and crypto deals. What happened in the past, how the crypto deals happened, what kind of deals were signed, and stuff like that. Cryptocurrency, as I said, is basically a digital currency. It's not, which means it's not fiat money, what we have today. It's not a rupee, it's not a dollar, it's not euro, it's not peso. It's basically a cryptocurrency. It's basically digital money that you own, right? Since it is digital, it has to be backed by a technology. It can be blockchain technology, it can be any other technology, but then we don't have digital money or digital currency in which basically stands on any other technology than blockchain today, because it's very difficult to manage if it's some other technology than blockchain technology. So that's why precisely no one created it so far. And exactly where peer-to-peer concept and internet protocols come. And then you have all these types of cryptocurrencies which are available in the market. Along with these, which are basically now this is basically a token of this particular thing. We'll talk about what tokens are in the next slide or in the coming slides. Bitcoin is a type of currency, Ethereum is a type of currency, XRP is a type of currency. And look at the market cap. Now crypto market is such a huge market. It's about 250 billion market today. I'm not talking about the deals. I'm only talking about the crypto market, and the kind of deals that we are signing in the recent past, about 6 to 8 billion, which is nothing compared to what the kind of crypto market today is, right? No, it's just what I said just now. If you eliminate all the noise and all the drama and all the confusion around what cryptocurrency basically is, it's nothing but a database. I mean, to make it simple, to put it very, very, very simply in a very crude fashion, it's nothing but a database which cannot be changed without fulfilling specific conditions, which is basically the consensus, which is basically the the hash function, as you saw, as we spoke about. I mean, private key, public key, and security stuff. It cannot be changed. So that's what cryptocurrency is. But then, obviously, no one likes simple definitions, and I mean, we like to make things complicated. To give you a proper definition, now that was something, a simplistic definition of what cryptocurrency is. To give you a proper definition, cryptocurrency is an internet-based medium of exchange which uses cryptographical functions to conduct financial transactions. No, that's the actual definition of what cryptocurrency is. And it fulfills all these conditions here. Cryptographical means it is basically covered by something called cryptography, which is basically the hash function, which what we just spoke about, and which can be accessed only by people who have access to it. It's an internet-based medium, which is basically a medium where you can exchange the data. It's a database, and which cannot be altered without having specific access. And of course, cryptocurrencies leverage on the blockchain technology, because there's no other technology that can back cryptocurrencies and that can handle the complications involved in cryptocurrency.
Excuse me, sir, I do have a question.
Sure.
So how is it different from digital currency, different from the existing currency? So if I imagine this system, we have hard cash, and now we are going into an electronic system where hard cash is not exchanged. How is it different? And if it is different, how is this cryptocurrency going to replace the existing one?
Okay. So we'll talk about how the cryptocurrency can replace the existing currency a little later. Right after we complete this particular discussion. But that was a good question. How is cryptocurrency different than what digital cash or whatever digital money that I have right now? First of all, we don't have a concept called digital money right now. It's only the digitized form of the fiat currency that is basically appearing in your computer screen or in your mobile screen. You are only able to transact. I mean, if you're sending 100 rupees, again, going to the example of 100 rupees. If I'm sending 100 rupees from my phone to my brother's phone or to someone else's phone, right? The fiat money is moving between the banks. Let's say I am sending from HDFC Bank to Kotak Bank. HDFC pays rupees 100 to Kotak Bank on behalf of me, which means I may be a UPI transaction, may be a credit card, debit card, internet banking, or whatever the mode of transaction may be, right? There is an intermediary involved who basically is moving my fiat money between banks or between regions or between geographies or between whatever. Now, that's not digital currency that you have. It's only a digitized form of the fiat money that you already have. Digital currency, which is basically cryptocurrency, is completely different because there is no physical form of that money, which means, and it's backed by a technology called blockchain. Now that makes it very easy, because if I want to send 100 rupees, that's why it's called peer-to-peer, without involving any of the intermediaries. If I want to send 100 rupees to my brother, I can send from my phone to his phone. That's all done. Transaction is done without any intermediary being in the middle, which means there's no concept of settlement. Now, people who are familiar with POS machines or the merchant terminals and all that, the credit card and debit card settlements usually take about 2 to 3 days by the payment gateways. May it be Razorpay, may it be CC Avenue, may it be Bharat Bill Pay system, or whatever it is. In cryptocurrency, that particular thing is not there, because because the payment and the settlement basically are one. However, in case of fiat currency, the payment is different, settlement is different. Now, that's the basic difference between a cryptocurrency and a digital currency. Hope I was able to answer.
Just let me add one more doubt to this. Now, we are using blockchain as a technology. Now, if you use this blockchain as technology to the current existing system of the way it is digitized, now, how is it different from the cryptocurrency? Why can't we avoid intermediaries? Now, if you compile all this, I have property. It's compiled. It's in the public domain where somebody can transact directly with me. Okay, or I have money. Instead of having a bank as an intermediary, why can't this be grouped as into something that individuals to individuals can transact? We can avoid banks.
In the you're talking about the existing
now,
system.
Yeah, why can't we avoid banks now itself?
No, you cannot avoid banks now currently because if let's say again, coming back to the basics, right? In the first 2 or 3 slides, what we spoke about, if I want to send, let's say, 1,000 euros to my brother who's based out of France, I should have at least 90,000 rupees in my bank account because the euro is about 85, 90 rupees or whatever today. And there should be someone who needs to, who basically checks this particular transaction because we have something called fiat money, which is issued by the RBI, the Reserve Bank of India. Now, the Reserve Bank of India is the one who is monitoring what money is moving from where and from to which country or to which geography or to which state, from which state to which state and stuff like that. Now, to validate and to check all this, there should be some intermediary because it's practically not possible. Otherwise, you have to convert the complete existing system into a blockchain system, which again will make the currency digital. Right. So the blockchain system and or the cryptocurrency, the hard money or the notes that you see, the 100 rupees or 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees notes that you're seeing right now today, and the versus the digital currency, that's not the difference between a fiat money and a digital currency. The difference is the technology behind it. Now, in the existing system, there has to be a check before you send it to someone because there should be someone to check if you really have the money or not. And if you want to convert that into digital, convert everything to blockchain, and then you don't need an intermediary. Your question is right. We can avoid intermediaries even in the current system. But then for that, you have to develop a system which checks automatically, which has the capability to check each and every transaction in each and every instance automatically. And that can be possible only by way of a blockchain technology, which we are talking right now.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
No problem. Can we move to the next, if that's okay?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Just one question. That is that Paytm is very near to that.
Sorry.
Because
BP?
Paytm technology. Yeah, Paytm technology is very near to that, correct? That we are saying that immediately it gets transferred.
That's a very good question. Paytm acts like an intermediary again, because when you are sending money through Paytm, imagine the Paytm interface for a while. You use UPI ecosystem, and if you are using UPI, there's one organization which is basically called Bharat Bill Pay, BBPS, which is basically making all the settlements. Paytm is just an interface which facilitates the transaction. Through Paytm, I can do a payment or I can do a transaction using my UPI. I can do a transaction using my debit card. I can do a transaction using my credit card. I can do a net banking transaction or whatever through Paytm, right? Now, Paytm uses something called UPI mostly because when you go to a shop, you just scan the code and you make the payment, which is basically nothing but UPI payment. Now, that UPI payment is facilitated by an intermediary called Bharat Bill Pay. Now, that Bharat Bill Pay is basically making all the checks and to say, okay, Sanjay is having this particular money and Sanjay can basically pay this particular shop for 29 rupees or 30 rupees for buying a milk packet or whatever it is. Now, that is the that is the stuff that Paytm is doing. Paytm also acts as a payment gateway, which means basically all the transactions routes through Paytm, and then Paytm makes the settlement to the particular merchant at the end of the day or at the end of 2 days. Basically, it's T+2 in case of credit cards, and sometimes in case of hardly 1 or 2 payment gateways. In my experience, it's T+1, but then it's usually T+2 or T+3. I've seen T+16 also 3 years back. So why should I wait to receive my money? Why should I even wait for a day or 2 days to receive my money, which is rightfully due to me? Now, that's the question that we are trying to answer using this particular technology. Hope I was able to answer, Sanjay.
Yeah. So, I mean, if for the moment we assume that Bharat Pay Bill Pay is not there, Paytm is the only guy. So then it is a sort of a digital currency. So there's no settlement involved. We hash the RBI, we hash the Bharat Pay, correct? And Paytm is kind of just debiting and crediting ledgers for us, correct?
Yeah, if exactly, you got in the point of ledgers, which is a little interesting here. Now, this ledger is nothing but blockchain is nothing but a distributed ledger system, which means Paytm, in your example, Paytm should have the capability to alter all the ledgers simultaneously and then create a new block in the chain to say Sanjay is no more having 100 rupees, Sanjay is only having 70 rupees because Sanjay paid 30 rupees to someone else. Now that particular technology is nothing but blockchain technology. And if Paytm is capable of doing that, then yes, perfect. Then there's no need of Bharat Bill Pay here.
Paytm has wallet also. So that wallet can be in the form of cryptocurrency.
No, but even to load money in the wallet, even to load money in that particular.
That is initial, subsequently.
Sorry.
That is initially you had to load with currency, but subsequently it can be wallet to wallet transfers can be done.
If at all you want to make wallet to wallet transfers, I mean that particular thing is something similar to blockchain, about 60 to 70%. But then I would not say it's completely similar to blockchain, because there's no concept of consensus here. Yes, because if I am making, there's no concept of consensus here, because if I am making 100 rupees payment from my Paytm wallet to my friend's Paytm wallet, right? It's the Paytm as an organization that basically monitors all of this. It's not me and my friend and all the other people who have the access to the ledger. It's not all the other people who are basically making the consensus. It's basically only me and my friend transacting in Paytm, verifying the whole transactions, which means Paytm is the intermediary here.
Yeah, you're right. There's also one more issue. Cryptocurrency, as you were saying, cryptocurrency leverage blockchain technology to gain decentralization, transparency, and immutability. Transparency, when it is gaining, I understand, but why governments are skeptical about it, that it is used for terrorist funding, is used for drug this one. All these governments are skeptical about the using cryptocurrencies.
That's a very, very, very good question. And that's exactly the topic that is happening these days. And you know, I mean, I would not get into terrorism, but I would get into something called money laundering or the black money market. I would not get into terrorism because of the sensitivity involved. So I'll talk about the black money market. Yes, you're absolutely right, because there is no regulation in place for this particular currency, cryptocurrency. It is possible currently, but that's also happening in the fiat money. I mean, the black money or whatever, the money laundering and whatever other things we are talking about, that's also happening in the current existing currency or fiat currency that we already have. Because there is no regulation, and this, as I said, this particular currency has the power to change the world. But then the governments are still working towards how to make this particular thing legal, or how to make this particular thing, I mean, it's still legal, but how to make this particular thing regulated. And we will talk about that. We will see what countries have actually adopted a particular framework for ICOs and the coins and tokens, and what countries are in the process of adopting the framework, and what countries are completely averse. We'll talk about that in the coming slides, but that was a very good question. And yes, I would say that it's happening right now because of the fact that it's unregulated. It's completely unregulated, but because of the power that this particular technology and this particular item has, the governments are working towards how to make this governments are working towards creating a particular framework to sort of revolutionize this whole technology. That was a very good question, and that's the answer. Hope I was able to answer, Vijay.
I just have one point to add, or seek clarity on. See, there are two things in this. One is value, and the other one is transaction. So, of course, they go hand in hand, no doubt about it. But let us take a simple transaction of going to a store and buying a chocolate bar for 100 rupees. Okay. So what has happened? There is a transaction that has happened, which is sale of a chocolate from an intending buyer to from a intending seller, and the value is 100. And that value of 100 can actually buy something else, or it can be put to use in another way. See, so what my understanding is, in blockchain, what needs to be captured is transaction and value, no doubt about that. But that value is something, I mean, like, we are talking about the money will be changing hands, and we really need to keep a trail of it. That is what is blockchain, correct? So is it also, is it very important that we need to keep a history of all these transactions, even though they are very trivial? And do we have the bandwidth and capacity to capture the transaction and the history for the entire population of the world?
Yes, that's an amazing question. In fact, the last bit of it, do we have the capacity to store? Now, to answer the first part of the question, do we need to really store that particular small transaction of even 1 rupee? Forget about 100 rupees, even 1 rupee. Yes, it is absolutely necessary. Because only then, whenever a new block gets created, even for a trivial amount, 1 rupee, right? It has to create a new block in the chain, and it has to add everything to the existing chain of blocks, because only then the transaction after that will sort of tally, because you have 101 rupees in your bank account, you spend 1 rupee, you still have 100 rupees. And if that 1 rupee transaction gets eliminated, and when you enter into another transaction, and then your net balance becomes, let's say you enter into another transaction of 10 rupees, your net balance becomes 90 because you spent 1 and 10, 11 rupees. But the blockchain doesn't have any trail of that 1 rupee transaction. It will not accept the 10 rupee transaction also. Now that's the technology on which blockchain works, because there's no consensus. All the other systems will say, get lost. We will not accept your transaction because there's 1 rupee missing here, which is also a concern for me. Now that's the technology on which blockchain is built, and that's the fundamental, because there should not be any alteration whatsoever. Could be 50 paisa, could be 1 rupee. Now coming to the second part of the question, do we have capacity to save or to store all that? Yes, we do, because the current intermediaries, they are storing all the information on behalf of us. Look at the kind of data that is getting generated. Look at the kind of transactions that is getting generated. Amazon, if you work in an Amazon data center, you will be given target of certain lakhs and millions of data points per day. In fact, the targets are per hour, and that is the data that is getting stored. Now your data is getting stored in someone else's system, and you don't have a control over it. Blockchain and Web3 application, which is built on blockchain, promotes this privacy, this concept of privacy, because no one can see the data unless they have access to it. Of course, it will get changed in all the systems, all the nodes. But then if you have in the existing facilities or in the existing scenario, you have the capacity to store the data. So in the blockchain technology also you will have, because that will only replace the existing data that is already there. So we have that particular capability, and we have that particular capacity. Yeah.
This tracking, is it a tracking of the individual concern, or is it tracking of the total concern, cryptocurrency total?
Consensus is nothing but
not consensus. Tracking. You say, yeah, and the blockchain, the transactions get stored. So what we are getting stored is the transaction of the individual, or is the transaction of the tokens. Suppose I'm dealing with the Bitcoin. In the blockchain technology, what is stored? Story of the Bitcoin concern or story of the individual concern?
1 second. Let me just turn my video on. It turned off for some reason. Yeah. So it's basically everything. Whatever you transact, whatever minor change you make.
Can contain both, but tracking continuously.
Everything tracking continuously happens for each and every change in the record. It may not be a transaction. It may be change in your name. You say that my name, I changed my name, not name. Let's say you say that I changed my address from 128B Rainbow Drive to 1088 Asset 65. Now that Asset 65, 1088 Asset 65 gets updated, and then it gets updated across all the nodes in the system. It can be any change, need not be crypto, because I'm just taking an example of crypto here, because we are basically talking about cryptos and tokens here. But then imagine a situation in a healthcare where one patient comes today with a problem of, let's say, hypertension. Tomorrow he comes with a problem of kidney. Day after tomorrow he comes with a problem of brain. So the same patient comes again and again with multiple problems. All his data should be stored across the system, which cannot be altered by anyone. Now that's what blockchain is. I mean, if we move little bit apart, little bit away from the crypto and the currency and the money part of it, if you apply the same logic in a logistics industry, or in a YouTube, let's say in a copyrights industry, or let's say in a real estate or in a healthcare, you will better appreciate the concept of how this whole thing works. Hope I was able to answer, Vijay, or the question was something different.
No, I'm still a little bit confused. Are we tracking the individual? We may store the details, but ultimately the tracking.
No, you're not tracking. You're not tracking here. You're not tracking here. That's where the point of privacy comes. You're not tracking. You're only storing.
Okay. Yeah, storing only. Okay,
Yeah.
everything will get stored.
Yeah,
Fine.
everything will get stored, and it can be altered only by fulfilling certain conditions, as I said, and as it's mentioned here. Let me just get the pointer. As I mentioned here, you are not tracking, you're only storing, because if you track, then the whole concept of privacy gets defeated.
Fine.
Fair
So,
enough?
Harsh,
But with
one
that
question.
storing of that knowledge, you'll still be able to understand between who and who the transaction took place. You'll still
Exactly.
be able to track it even if you have that particular, piece of information.
Right, that's right.
So,
But then
Harsh,
you should have access to open that information. That's what is important here.
Harsh, yeah,
sorry.
as I understand, see, there are two things which there are two things which blockchain is trying to solve. One is the transaction protection and the ownership protection.
Yeah.
There could be other things, but I am just pointing at two things. So the ownership protection, I can understand when you relate blockchain to ownership of property or the account ownership or something like that. But whereas the transaction protection is something which you explained, each transaction also is probably called as a block or something, or it's similar to ownership. But at the same time, what is blockchain trying to solve is in terms of transaction, that it is trying to solve that if I'm actually disclosing my password, then blockchain will not solve that problem. But if somebody is trying to hack, even having without password, that is the problem which blockchain is trying to solve.
Exactly, you hit the point.
Also, same issue. If I am not compromising my password, or if I am not selling the property, then if somebody is trying to acquire it by replacing the records or something, that is what blockchain is trying to solve. Correct me if
In
my
case,
understanding.
yeah, I would like to not correct, but I would just like to add to what you already said. What you said is 100% right. You actually hit the point. But then the last bit of it, I would just like to add something. Now, in case of real estates or the property records or whatever, you still have the private key to access the records, right? But then you don't have the public key, because those records are stored in all the systems, right? Now, if I have my password, of course I can see and I can transact or I can do whatever I want. But then if someone wants to change, right? If someone wants to change a record, or if someone wants to change that particular piece of the information, he still should change all the records in the existing systems and in the existing nodes. Only then the record gets changed. And if you want to sell, or if you want to do anything, if you want to transact, or if you want to if you want to change anything related to your particular record, you have the access to it, and the person who has access to it can also change, which means you cannot compromise on, or your password or your credentials cannot be should not be compromised. I mean, that's a very simple explanation of what the technology is, but there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Let's go to the next slide. The features of cryptocurrency, I think we discussed all of it.
Sorry to interrupt. Just a second.
No worries, Sanjay.
I'm sorry. See, you said that property details. Sanjay has changed address, correct? That's the example that you gave. In that situation, I put using my private key that address into the system, correct? You're saying all the nodes will say yes, and then no one can alter it. But who authenticates that Sanjay has changed? So is there auditing involved in this?
Exactly. That's the point here. That's the point. Now, blockchain completely eliminates the need of authentication by an intermediary. Right now, all the other blocks in the chain will, I mean, this is a very simplistic or very simple example that we are talking about, but then it's, I mean, the technology itself is as simple as that, leaving all the noise around the technology aside. All the other blocks in the chain, I mean, to put it simply, or just to let all of you sort of visualize what's happening behind the scenes, all the other nodes or all the other users in the system, while authentication, what they will see is the origination, who originated the transaction. Was this originated by someone who has the access to it, which means you have the access to your data. So you are changing your data, right? Now that is the first check. Second check is whether the change that is making is right or not. Let's say you have, I mean, your property address is 128 Rainbow Drive and you change it to something else, or you use a wrong pin code. The others will not basically give their consensus. So what you said is right. Your password, you are changing your details, you are changing your information, and all the others are consent giving their consensus based on certain conditions that are getting fulfilled. And one of the conditions is basically the authentication. Who initiated the change? Was it a hacker or was it an authenticated user? And that's where the concept of public and private keys comes. I did not delve into that particular concept too much because that's a huge topic to discuss. That's altogether a different world, the concept of public keys and private keys and how they work in the blockchain technology. But sure, I think we'll discuss that in the next session.
So I believe that what you're saying is that the authenticity of the data is not checked. It's the origination of the transaction that is being certified in blockchain. So even wrong transactions can be certified as true, correct? Technically speaking in this.
Wrong transaction, can you give me an example?
So let's say that I have got a certain property in my name and I start that and I put fake documents to upload it. The same example that you took earlier, correct? That a property is owned by A also and by B also. And now who is to say that who owns the property? So I, as a fakester, upload that with my correct private key, with the public key. And let's say that 20 persons I say nod, please can give the consensus, and they give the consensus. Looking at
No,
that,
they cannot give the consensus. They cannot give the consensus because their first check got satisfied, which is basically the credentials part of it. But the second one still will not get satisfied because the property is being owned by someone else. So they will not give their consensus because the second part is wrong, because you still have to enter the details somewhere. It's not only about uploading. I mean, it's not only about uploading the document.
So the nodes guy will check in the system that this property belongs to who, and they will find that there's a conflict and they'll reject it. Is that what is happening behind?
So the nodes,
that is happening behind the scenes, correct?
Yes, and all this happens automatically.
Okay.
So basically there are 2-3 points of checks that all the nodes will make. And what we are talking about, again, Sanjay and everybody else, just for your information, what we're talking about is a very, 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 very simplistic version of this particular technology, just to let all of us understand. But the concept of private key, public key, and changing the whole data system or whatever, altering the transactions or entering a new transaction, it's a wider topic altogether. We're not getting into the details, but then the fundamental is right. Whatever we are discussing, the fundamental still holds good for the wider part of the topic. Yeah.
Right.
One query, Mr. Kiran, Harsh.
Hi. Yeah.
When there is a genuine transaction between you and me, why should others always?
Sorry. I'm sorry. Your voice is breaking, Mr.
When there is a genuine transaction between you and me or somebody.
Your voice is soft, Shiv Prasad. Not able to hear you properly. Maybe your microphone is away from you.
When there is a genuine transaction, then why should others?
Not able to hear you. We lost you. I mean, is it only with me or is it with everybody else? I'm not able to hear Shiv Prasad at all.
Couldn't.
Maybe he can chat his questions, put it in the chat box. That will help everybody.
Okay.
Oh, Vijay Kumar actually sent a question here.
Yes, I'm waiting for that.
I think we discussed this in.
No. Now the question is like this. What I'm trying to say is initial coin offerings. What is the Chingari issues initial coin offerings for its products? Whenever you create some transaction with them, they compensate you with Chingari coins, which is a crypto token. So my question is, can we use generate crypto coins, not like a Bitcoin, like that, any other coin, new coins, initial coin offers, by compensating CRP, which are under insolvency resolution process?
Okay, yeah, absolutely, yes. And you're basically bang on, Vijay. We will talk about that in tokens and ICOs. And this is exactly what we are going to discuss in tokens and ICOs. you're bang on, and really appreciate the question. Exactly what we're going to discuss in tokens and ICOs, Vijay.
Thank you.
We will not, of course, the CIRP and insolvency proceedings, all those things is something, those terminologies, keeping those terminologies aside, we will see how a weaker currency gets acquired by a stronger currency, and what and how the new tokens are issued, and what the technology behind those, all those things are. And we'll also touch upon, since you discussed briefly on CIRP and insolvency proceedings, we'll also talk about that. So Prasad, I just saw your question. In case of genuine transactions, what is the need for consent? Now, the need for consent here is very important, because basically the concept of blockchain eliminates the need of intermediaries. Now here, the intermediary is doing the work of validating all the transactions on your behalf and giving your information to someone else to say, okay, Siva Prasad is a genuine person who has 100 rupees in his wallet and is transferring, which in case of Paytm is Paytm, and bank, case of bank is bank, or whatever it is. But in case of blockchain, there's no need of a bank, there's no need of intermediary, there's no need of a person who basically sits there and validates all the information. There is no need of, basically the concept is to eliminate the intermediary and protect your privacy, which is also the concept of Web3, what we maybe will touch upon in the later slides. Will not get into details, but in case of a genuine transaction also, yes, the consent is needed, only then the block gets added. And the concept of consensus here is what that is something that differentiates the blockchain technology from all the other technologies lying today. Around us today. So can we go to the can we discuss, can we go further? Because I think there's a lot to discuss on the valuation and stuff, tokens and ICOs.
Yes, please.
Sure. So the features of cryptocurrency. We discussed all these features. It's irreversible. Once the transaction is entered, once a block gets added to the chain, it's irreversible. You want to make any change, that change will be added as a next block, and it will not change the existing block. That's the whole concept of blockchain. That's irreversible. You add a new block, that's all. If there is a change, then the transaction is something which is pseudonymous, which is basically, cannot be viewed or altered by anything, any person, or anyone who does not have any access to it. Then it's fast. We just discussed how it is fast, because there's no concept of intermediaries, there's no concept of settlements happening around here. Transaction is secure, because the transaction gets approved only when there is this concept of consensus, and this consensus is not handled by any person or any person or people or whatever. It's basically math, it's basically algorithm which plays the main role, and which is basically, when if you read this particular paragraph, you'll come to know cryptocurrencies are built on cryptography. It's all about technology. It's not secured by people, it's not secured by trust. It's not like I trust you, you give me the consensus and we are done. No, it's the math that is behind it, it's the technology that is behind it, that's basically protecting this technology, and it's basically governing this whole technology. It's pure math, pure algorithm. Algorithm is nothing but maths. Permissionless. There's no need of any permission. There is this concept of consensus. Consensus is different than permission. Permission is where an intermediary comes into play. Consensus is where everybody accepts, and they basically admit something. That's the thing. So blockchain, this is just on a lighter note. Nothing substantial to discuss here. It's more probable that an asteroid falls on my house, then a blockchain address is getting compromised because of the math behind it precisely. Now let us get into something called crypto M&A, which is the topic of the day. And from here, we will talk about the M&A, the valuations, and how the whole industry looks at this particular thing. Now, if you take from 2013, 2008 was when the concept of blockchain, the concept of coins and tokens was introduced. But if you basically, basically the trend started from somewhere 2012, 2013, the blockchain M&A and stuff like that. From 2013 until 2019, 20, this data is little dated, about a couple of years dated, but then still it holds good, because the direction is right. This is the size of the deals that happened. These are the number of deals. Coinbase, which is one of the biggest, or even today it's the biggest, crypto website, has made about 16 deals in these many sectors. Now look at the possibility that the blockchain offers: media and content, securities, investing, wallets, custody, tokenization, accounting, forenetics or forensics, artificial intelligence, IoT, brokerage, gaming, R&D, and everything else. All these are the possibilities. All these are the products of blockchain. Now, as I said, blockchain is a technology. Blockchain is not an application. Blockchain is not something new. It's only a technology that can be added to the existing technology, or that can that has to be replaced. I mean, that can replace the existing technology to make it more reliable, to make it more simpler, to make it more faster, to make it more accessible, to make it more transparent. Now that is the blockchain, and that's why the kind of deals that are happening here. If you see from 2013 until 2020, about 600 deals happened. Last year, it was $1 billion market, blockchain. Imagine a new technology. I mean, you name any new technology, any new technology, may it be Web 2, may it be, you know, any sort of technology, may it be LinkedIn or whatever. Initial years, or the data, you know, initial years, none of the I mean, you know, the market size in terms of M&A, the market size was not $1 billion in case of any of those technologies. You name the technology and you will not find a single deal, or you'll not find, you know, combination of deals crossing $1 billion or $2 billion in the very primitive stages. And blockchain actually things happen in blockchain. In 2018 alone, 162 M&A transactions were recorded in blockchain. Telecommunication deals across the world in 2018 was not, I mean, the size of telecommunication deals was not 162, but blockchain 162 deals happened. Transaction size ranging from $1 million to 300, 400, 500 million. But 2018 was the year when 2018 is a celebrated year in the blockchain history. We'll talk about why. We'll talk about that. Since 2013, the estimated deal size 6 to 8 billion. It's more than 6 billion, close to about 8 billion now. This data is little dated. And as I said, the total value of crypto network is over 250 billion today. So it's still less. So we will see a lot of blockchain activity happening in the near future. We will have to brace ourselves, because this is unstoppable. This is a technology. This is not an application. A technology cannot be stopped, because human mind is always inquisitive. Human mind always looks for new technologies, new avenues, new aspects, and this cannot be stopped. We all have to brace ourselves to sort of be ready for what the future will look like. And then as far as the history goes, I just spoke about this. 2018 is still served as the golden year. It's still regarded as the golden year, with I mean, and the market cap, or basically the price of the Bitcoin was the highest in 2018. Now it's the lowest. Excuse me. Now it's the lowest, but it was highest in 2018. And one more thing in cryptocurrencies, if you want to be in crypto, because it's in the initial stages, be ready to see ups and downs every couple of years, at least until the next 5 years or 6 years. But after that, it'll all get streamlined, and I'll talk about the reasons why. This is little important for us to understand. There are two types of course, we'll talk about that in the next slide, but let's touch upon. There are two types of basically M&A activities. Financial, there are many, but then broadly two: financial and strategic. Strategic involves acquiring a company or merging with another company for strategic reasons, as growing your market size, or expanding your offerings or stuff like that. Financial M&A is basically to sort of enhance your EBITDA, enhance your revenues. It's purely for the financial reasons. That doesn't involve strategy at all. So the size of this market, or the kind of deals that were done in 2013, right from 2013 to 2019, the strategic M&As, if you see, this is the strategic, this is financial part of it. The strategic M&As outnumbered the number of financial M&As, or the size of the financial M&As in the recent past. Only in the year of 2017, it was slightly different, because in the year 2017 and in the year 2018, that's when the coin offerings, and that's when the token M&As trend began. And 2017 basically saw a slight increase in the or slightly more financial M&As than the strategic M&As in the blockchain space, or in the crypto space, I can say. And the same is mentioned over here. Basically, companies were bracing themselves in the year 2017 to prepare themselves for the future by acquiring, either the shell companies or the companies not performing or the companies performing well, a smaller company acquiring a bigger company or a bigger company acquiring smaller company, purely for the financial reasons for the future. And then the trend continued. 2018 was, as I said, was a year where a lot of M&A activities happened in this particular space. And the strategic M&As were more than the financial M&As. And this is also complemented by this particular chart, where you see all these are the kind of acquisitions that Coinbase made. Now, Coinbase is a website, Coinbase is a platform, and it made all these kind of M&As, which basically says that, which basically talks about the kind of strategic M&As that happen in this particular space. So we have to appreciate that particular part of it. Because of all these activities happening, one notable outcome is the token mergers. We will talk about token mergers in this slide after the next slide. But let us finish the M&A part of it first. Or let's discuss more about M&A. It will go on for another 3-4 slides. The total value of crypto M&A deals in 2001, was almost 50 times compared to 2020. That is the value of the in terms of value. And then the average deal size increased by almost 3 times, right? From 50 million to about 180 million, and was mostly driven by special purpose acquisition vehicle. You all know whenever in case of an M&A, SPAC plays a main role. You can call it special purpose vehicle or special purpose acquisition company, special purpose acquisition vehicle. The terminology differs. And in Luxembourg, it's called SOPARFI, SOPARFI. It's a French. The full form is something in French. So it differs, but then special purpose acquisition vehicle plays a main role in any acquisition. Crypto focused venture capital funds. Venture capital. Now, this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about the venture capitals and what the venture capitalists are doing. And we'll also talk about the private and the public coin offerings. I'm sorry, I'll be moving in between because of the problem with my leg, but apologies for that. Yeah. So Blockchain Valley Ventures, BVV, based out of Switzerland, and there's this Draper Esprit, based out of the UK. They are one of the, I would not say the active, they are one of the active investors in the blockchain. Now, what happens here in case of any coin offering or in case of any token offering or in case of any investment in this particular space? Now, the companies or the venture capitalists invest their money in the company that basically supports the particular technology, and Blockchain Valley Ventures is one of them. Blockchain Valley Ventures evaluates the deal, puts their money in the deal, and then they take their compensation in the form of tokens or in the form of coins of that particular company, and then they aim at increasing the value of that particular coin what they hold. It's something similar to a venture capital investment in India. Let's say Morgan Stanley has its fund, which is India Telecommunications Fund or India Infrastructure Fund or India Telecommunication Infrastructure Fund or India Real Estate Fund. What they do is they invest money in various companies in those particular spaces and then take their shares, and then finally they exit. None of the venture capitals will stay with you for the rest of your life. They'll exit after 5 years or 6 years after adding value to you. They will make sure your share price gets increased and they will make money out of it. Something similar happens in this space as well. The only difference is I invest my money in a company, and then I get in return, what I get is the tokens of that particular company. And if that particular company performs well, I will sell those tokens, realize my money, come out of it. Exactly similar to how the venture capitals are performing today. Now, the Draper Esprit, I was the one who basically valued the Draper Esprit as a company. I did not value the investments, and I cannot name the investments what I valued in order to value Draper Esprit. But then I was the one who basically got involved in valuing the Draper Esprit, this particular company, which got acquired by another company. You can see it in the news. There is sufficient news information available. But I was the one who basically drove this whole valuation of Draper Esprit sometime back in 2000. Beginning of 2019. So Draper Esprit is a company which basically invests in various technologies, including blockchain technology. And I was involved in valuing the deals and valuing the size of the companies, or valuing valuing this particular fund, considering the value of the blockchain companies or the companies that are involved in blockchain space. So So the whole activity, I mean, imagine today you have the data, you have something to talk about, but in 2019, 2018, there was no data absolutely. And we'll talk about how we value in the coming slides. But that's where the valuation becomes a challenge, and we'll see how to navigate through all those things. Considering this as an example, we'll talk about that in the coming slides. In terms of the value of the deals, America and EMEA, of course, they are the largest, 24 million and 25 million. And rest of the world, in terms of rest of the world, Hong Kong and Singapore and Australia, especially these three countries contribute to most of the deals, the most of it. APAC region is emerging. Basically, Singapore, Bangkok, lot of deals happening in Singapore, a lot of deals happening in Bangkok, a lot of deals happening in Hong Kong, especially. And I was fortunate to be a part of one of the deals that happened in Hong Kong. First, cannot name the deal because it's still not live, but that was, I mean, the deal life cycle, as you know, can range from 3 months to 3 years or 4 years. So that's the same. So brace yourselves. You'll have a lot of work to do in another couple of years, because India is also moving towards cryptocurrencies, and this is inevitable. M&A occurred in crypto-related solutions, 21% in blockchain. If you see 21% in crypto-related solutions, and 19% in infrastructure and 19% in others. So it's not only about crypto; it's also about the other sectors and other products and other solutions. Compared to previous years, crypto mergers and acquisitions split evenly across different sectors. Of course, which basically talks about the geography, which basically talks about the spread of the deals, and which also talks about how the other geographies are interested in this particular thing. Now, this brings us to the topic what Vijay pointed out, which Vijay basically brought up, which is basically the concept of tokens. Tokens are slightly different than coins. Tokens are something which basically uses the algorithm of the existing blockchain technology. They don't create their own algorithm, but they basically build their product, or they basically build their particular offering on an existing blockchain network. Now that is token. Because of these M&A deals happening across worldwide, right? The weaker tokens, or the small tokens, what basically started doing something and growing their business, they took a hit. And because of that, they had to start their own mergers in order to survive, basically. And this concept started in 2017. A token merger and a coin merger is completely different. Token M&A is different. Coin M&A is different. Crypto M&A is different. So the token M&A, 2017 was when companies basically felt the need for tokenizer for token M&As. And 2018 was when the proposal started floating, saying, okay, fine, in order to survive, what we can really do. Okay, and that's when the companies started offering each other their terms, and then they started negotiating with each other, and then getting into the M&A. 2019 was when the first token deal happened. Basically, merger between two struggling projects for a small value, 5 million. 2018, the first landmark M&A with the acquisition of crypto broker Voyager and French crypto exchange, because of course they were struggling because of a lot of ICO activities happening, a lot of crypto deals happening. Bigger companies were getting bigger, and smaller companies were basically struggling. And that's when the token M&A, the token deal started in 2019 and 20, saw the evolution of those deals. 2021 M&A activity picked up. And in fact, one more thing to add, 2020 was the first hostile takeover in this particular space, token M&A. 2021, the M&A activities picked up. Landmark acquisition by Polygon, US $800 million by Rare Capital, and a lot of other deals that happened in this space in 2021. So token M&A, to answer your question, Vijay, the struggling companies, or the companies which were on the verge of insolvency, in the verge of bankruptcy, even after ICO or even before ICO or whatever it is, those companies started to merge. Those companies started to sort of combine their operations in order to survive. And that's when the token M&A concept emerged. And that's when, it's something similar to the insolvency proceedings in India, insolvency proceedings, but slightly different from that. in order to protect themselves from insolvency, they got into this token M&A activities.
My point is, a company under CRP, can it issue tokens or coins as initial coins so that they can
Yes,
generate money for their
yes, it can.
survival?
Yes, it can. We'll talk about ICO, and that's when I think you will appreciate the concept better.
Yes, yes.
And ICO is nothing but a coin offering by a company. Coin offering by a company, it can. But then who will buy? If I am a company, if I have a company which is under insolvency, which
One
is
minute.
going,
Who can buy is determined by the market.
yeah,
But the tokens are available for trading in the crypto market.
yes,
So people may be buying, may not be buying. That is, it depends upon the market conditions.
that's
But
right.
the problem here is not the problem. The issue here is I generate, let's say I need about 10 crores. For generating 10 crores, I generate 10 crores face value of coins. Okay. And I offer them tangible terms to be done in a period of 2-3 years where they can buy my products also by exchanging tokens. I can buy the products also. They can buy the products also. So they the investors can buy my products after I come out of the insolvency or after I get into that initial period of setting up or revival. So then they can do that one. So I can put those terms into the coins terms also. So in a way, let's say.
Yeah, those are
like
called
issue of
utility. Those are the utility tokens, Vijay, that you're talking about. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
There are three types of tokens: security tokens, utility tokens, and cryptocurrencies. We'll talk about that in the coming slides, and how to value these three tokens. We'll also talk about that in the coming slides.
That's
They are the utility tokens, Vijay, that you're talking about. You're bang on, actually. You're talking about the utility tokens, which basically offers you the access to any particular product or service. But of course, one point to note here, Vijay, is there is no regulation around all of this that we are talking about, right? In India, at least. In America, yes, they already have. In EMEA, they have. In APAC, especially in Hong Kong and Australia, they just came up with some regulation. But in India, we don't have a regulation as such. But I mean, at least I am looking forward to a regulation in the recent or in the coming future soon. This is the ICO space. Now, what we just spoke about, what happens is a company, it's a startup, it creates its own tokens using its own technology or using an existing technology, right? And then it enters the blockchain system, and then investors invest into this startup. In return, what they get is token of this particular startup. Now, that token, in most of the cases, in 90% of the cases, it will be a security token. It could be a utility token, what we just spoke about, which offers them access to the products and services. So that's what happens in an ICO, which is basically initial coin offering. Initial coin offering is not where an investor invests in a coin. It's where an investor invests in a startup in return for coins. We just spoke about this. Initial coin offering is the cryptocurrency, initial IPO equivalent of cryptocurrencies industry. In order to be an investor, you should have sufficient, or you should have at least first-hand information or basic understanding of crypto, because and it's always good to have understanding of something before you basically get into it. The same thing applies here. ICOs are completely unregulated. Investors must conduct their own due diligence. As I said, China and South Korea, they prohibit ICOs. However, in Hong Kong, Australia, and New Zealand, there are already published guidelines, including the UAE, which is a little surprising, but including the UAE. European countries, US and Canada, are basically working on developing specific regulations. In India, we don't prohibit, but India, there is no regulation as such.
See, if in IC in CRP proceedings, a lot of haters are there for the bankers, for the investors, for the creditors also. So instead of hatred, if you offer them tokens, they'll get something.
Yeah, but then, what you said is right, but then there should be someone to buy. If there is someone to buy, and if you can offer them the tokens, CR or the regulators, whoever the regulator is, the regulator should also permit you to basically offer them the tokens. If the regulator permits, nothing like it. So the ICOs, as I said, they're basically private ICOs and public ICOs. Private ICOs, we just spoke about how there are basically private ICOs are nothing but private venture capital or a seed investor investing in a company. Public ICOs are basically when you go public. There are regulations we just spoke about the regulations for ICOs in these countries and how the landscape looks like. This is a little bit about, valuation. We'll get into a little more detail, but this is just a brief on how the value, this is something basic and I think all of us appreciate this point already. The token generated by ICO contracts, the investor should basically believe that whatever money I'm investing in and whatever tokens I have, they are basically in sync. That is the point number one. Point number two is if I invest $1, I should be able to realize at least $1 only, then the investor will invest. Now, these are the two fundamentals based on which the investor invests in any company, which basically holds good for the current sort of investment ecosystem as well. And then the value of the tokens is not coming down. If the number is more, let's say I invested $30 million and if the value is $3 million, then the ratio, the realization ratio is basically 10. Because 30 divided by 3 is basically 10. The higher the ratio, the worse it is. The lower the ratio, the better it is. Now that's the fundamental based on which the whole math is driven. Crypto valuation for the existing stocks, you assess the financial viability, you take a look at the financial health and stuff like that, and if the asset looks good, you basically invest. But that's not the case in case of crypto because there is no data. Right? There is no precedence. There are no financials. There's nothing available. Absolutely. You go to Bloomberg, you go to Thomson Reuters, you go to whatever newspaper, you go wherever you want to go. You cannot find any data on crypto except for something basic. So how do you basically value? We will talk about that in the coming slides as well. This is just an introductory slides. The problem is they are digital. Viability is totally based on participation of their users and commitments. Now, the value of a crypto, just like any other asset, just like the share of a company, basically is driven by the performance of the company. Basically, is driven by the trust that the users have in that particular currency. Now, if I have coins or tokens of particular company, I should basically, the value of that particular coin or value of that particular token is driven by the number of users and the kind of market that particular coin or the token has got, or the kind of product that particular company is offering. And the second challenge is they're still new. They're still in the infancy stage and primitive stages, and there's a lot that needs to be taken care of, which basically brings us to the point that cryptocurrencies have very limited or very little usage in the real world because right now there is no track record. There is nothing that you can basically rely on. So how do you value? How do you go about valuing a crypto asset, which we will see in the next slide? This is a very interesting table. Let me just put everything so that you can, just in the interest of time, I know we are running short of time. Valuation approach for security tokens, for utility tokens and cryptocurrencies. Security tokens are nothing but the tokens that you hold of any company for which which can be exchanged in for money at any point in time. And the valuation approach is, first approach is the market approach, which is a very famous approach. You basically go to the exchange, crypto exchange. There are a lot of crypto exchanges here. You take the quoted price of that particular security, or if that particular security is not listed, then you go to the comparable tokens and just sort of take the price, which is very difficult to do because there's very less data available. In a typical scenario, when you value shares, you will have thousands of companies, which will thousands and millions of companies, which will be comparable to a particular company. But in this particular space, there'll be one or two companies, and you just have to rely on whatever data is available and apply your best judgment there. Same thing holds good for utility tokens and cryptocurrencies. Then you have income approach. For utility tokens and cryptocurrencies is not applicable because here, as I said, cryptocurrencies basically rely on the number of users and basically rely on the strength of the particular product that the company is offering. And utility tokens are basically the tokens that give you access to a particular product or service. So that's why the income approach is not applicable here. However, for security tokens, it is possible based on the forecasts and based on the discount rates, what that particular token has to offer. So that's there you follow the income approach. Cost approach, not applicable here. Something similar, same logic why the income approach is not applicable here. Similarly, cost approach is not applicable here because basically there's no opportunity cost or there's no cost of generation, because you know you you rely on the forecasts, you rely on the discount rates and stuff like that in this particular security token. But here there's a cost involved. If I am foregoing a product, if I'm foregoing a service for another security or for another utility token, now that is the opportunity cost and that is the value of that particular utility token. And the cost of generation, example, mining, we did not touch upon mining in the previous slides because mining would have completely driven the discussion towards mining and private key and public key and stuff like that. That's why I did not touch upon that concept. But mining is the cost that involves in cryptocurrency. So that's why the cost of generation determines the value of the cryptocurrencies here. QTM is quantum theory of money, which is not applicable in this particular case. However, it's possible here because of time value money and estimation of equation terms in case of utility tokens and cryptocurrencies. This is how you basically value, and this is just a guideline. This is just an opinion of the market. This is how the experts basically value this particular industry, this particular product. But then there's no, again there's no hard and fast rule because there's no data. We will see, we'll touch upon that in the coming slide, but then there's no data, there's no precedence, there's nothing absolutely that you can rely on. You have to apply your best judgment, and that's where I think all of you, the valuers, will have a very critical role to play, because there will be crypto deals happening in India. There are crypto deals that are happening in India, and there will definitely be a lot of crypto deals that will come in the future, and the valuers will play a critical role there, because a valuer certificate is very important, and it's very much respected and it's very much valued across the industry. In the interest of time, can I move to the next slide? Sure. Valuation of crypto deals. The valuation depends on specific facts, of course, the time available, the purpose, and the required level of reliance. Based on these factors, the value is basically taken. However, one thing that I would like to add here is the quantitative analysis is all the more important than the qualitative analysis. Now, only because there is no data, only because you know very less about the industry, you cannot apply your best judgment. Or you cannot say that, okay, I value this particular deal, I value this particular token, because a deal is valued by the kind of token that particular deal has got. I cannot value this based on the qualitative factors available. I should also be able to apply some sort of quantitative analysis, and that's what this particular slide talks about, from where you get the data, how you value basically. So the quantitative analysis is far more important than the qualitative analysis. And of course, the quantitative analysis alone is not enough because of the obvious reasons that I pointed out. The qualitative analysis is also important. Now let us look at a few landmark deals that happened in this space. Let us start with this one, Circle and Poloniex. Circle was a crypto exchange, Poloniex was a crypto website, and this particular, Circle was a crypto website, Poloniex was a crypto exchange, and there was an acquisition of Poloniex by Circle. However, this particular deal failed, and Poloniex was again acquired by Tron at a very low valuation from Circle, because Circle thought, this was a strategic move. Similarly, this was a strategic move. All others are basically financial moves. This and this, both were strategic. And here the strategy failed. They thought it will add value to their company. It did not basically add value to the company. Deal size was 400 million, which is equal to 28,000 crores, right? Such a big deal in 2018, which failed. Ideanomics, you will be surprised to know, Ideanomics is a fintech firm, which basically focuses on fintech, you know what fintech means. Your Paytm is a fintech, PhonePe is a fintech, your Cred is a fintech. Just to give you examples. Via Motors is a firm which is basically into electronic vehicles manufacture. Ideanomics acquired Via Motors in 2021 for 630 million, which is not a small amount. Even in the US, it's not a small amount. This was a strategic move, and the Ideanomics firm has still not revealed the reason why, because this happened recently in August last year. And I was following this deal very closely. I was not involved in the deal, but I was just following the deal, and I'm still waiting for the kind of outcome that this particular firm will derive out of this. There are other deals which you can take a look at once this particular document gets uploaded in the website. But just to sort of summarize, cryptocurrency exchanges getting acquired or acquiring popular crypto websites. You have the exchanges. I mean, you have BK Global and Bitum, where leading Korean exchange by Singapore consortium of high net worth investors. This was a strategic and financial move both. And in 2018, again, we saw Lightyear acquiring Chain. This was a small deal, but again, a landmark deal in terms of the complications that were involved, because this took a lot of time for them to execute. This took about 8 months for them to execute, if I'm right, the acquisition of Chain by Lightyear. And just for your information, something interesting, nothing to discuss between us, but you know, all these are the deals that happened in the recent past. And these are blockchain deals, guys. These are not crypto deals. I mean, these are combination of crypto and blockchain deals. As I said, crypto is a subset of blockchain. All these are the deals that happened in the recent past. You can take a look whenever this document gets uploaded. And as I said in the beginning, this is the crypto life cycle. You know, any crypto, I mean, right now, I mean, you know, once, okay, there's something called fiat money, there's something called crypto money. Now, if the crypto money or I mean, the crypto money getting replacing the fiat money, the possibility is little far away from today. But until then, until the time the fiat money gets replaced by crypto money, this is the life cycle that a typical cryptocurrency has. Now, Bitcoin is in utilization stage right now. Some point or the other, it has to retire, or it has to be replaced, or it will be replaced by someone else. Ethereum, Ripple, it can be replaced by, I mean, you know, Bitcoin will come out in another form as a fiat currency. I mean, we never know. There is Ethereum, there is Ripple, there is EOS, there is Tron, there is Zcash. You can see all these are the stages at where they're currently in. And some or the other point in time, interestingly, they will be either retired or they will be replaced. Unless a regulation comes into place, which will basically legalize all these things. I mean, not legalize, but it will basically have framework of all these things. So this is the life cycle of a crypto, which is good to know. This is an interesting fact, so that's why I thought I'll just include it here. Nothing much to discuss on this part. So that's about it from my side, guys. If you have any Q&As, I mean, questions, maybe I can take the questions. Please let me know.
I have a question. Basically, when you value these cryptocurrencies, or when you value a normal asset or a particular even share, we see the underlying business or underlying asset. Based on that, you value the equity share or whatever. So in the same analogy, if you apply same analogy for cryptocurrency, there is no underlying asset. And in the research statement, Warren Buffett also said that if you give me all of the Bitcoins, I don't even pay $25. So in this, different opposite contexts, how can we evaluate cryptocurrencies, and how do you attach a lot of value to the cryptocurrency? What valuation that cryptocurrencies are making? So can you throw some light on this?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. So the cryptocurrency is different. The utility token is different. Security tokens are different, right? I mean, broadly put, there are three categories. Utility tokens, of course, derives their value from some or the other product or service that the particular company is offering. Security tokens derives their value from various other things. But let us talk about cryptocurrencies valuation for a while. Cryptocurrency valuation can be done. I mean, first I'll talk about how the valuation can be done, and second, then I'll talk about the scenario that is going on. I mean, the current scenario, what's happening today. First one, how to value a cryptocurrency. You can either take the value of the existing cryptocurrency, which is Ethereum. Now, if you cannot even rely on Ethereum, in case of Bitcoin, if you cannot even rely on Ethereum or Ripple or anything else, right? And if you cannot apply a multiple, or if you cannot apply a sort of formula, could be QTM or whatever, MV equal to P into E or whatever it is. if you cannot apply something like that, then you basically understand the cost of generating that particular cryptocurrency. Now that's what determines the price of Bitcoin. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to it's very difficult to sort of mine or sort of mining is completely a different topic. I will not get into mining now because this session will stretch for another 1 hour if I get into mining. But the cost of mining determines the value of Bitcoin. Why? Mining involves, to put it simply, why mining involves solving complex mathematical problems or mathematical solutions, complex math, and then the person who basically solves the math gets rewarded by a coin or gets rewarded by a token. Now that's called mining, and the cost of mining, and the more you mine, the more coins get generated, because that's how the whole mining industry works. That's how the whole coin industry works. Now it sounds complicated. It's not. It is actually complicated. It's not that simple. But at the same time, if you understand the concept, is very simple. Now the cost of mining determines the price of any crypto. Now, as I said, as I showed in the previous slide, the market cap of Bitcoin is more than 124 billion. The reason why, the price of one Bitcoin today is about 13 lakhs or 10 lakhs or something. It was huge. It was about 15 lakhs, 16 lakhs in the past. Now it is somewhere 10 lakhs or something. It's much lesser. The reason is, the market sentiments, the more and more number of miners getting added, more and more number of people being able to solve those complex problems, and more people getting aware of this, and the more number of nodes, or the more number of miners, or the more number of the more these people gets added to a particular ecosystem, the value will come down and it will become equivalent to a fiat currency, is what the simplistic explanation of this particular thing is.
Any other questions? If there are no further questions, I will take this opportunity to render the vote of thanks. I would like to thank all the participants who have come here this morning and participated in the session. But I would give my heartfelt vote of thanks to Harsh for making such a complex topic simple. He started off, he had come totally prepared for this session, much to whatever he had communicated, that he'll provide an overview. He will actually talk about the cryptocurrency, how they emerge, life cycle, the movement, and the crypto deals, whatever deals that he was a part of. He spoke about all of them. He spoke about the tokens and the initial coin offerings. He also spoke about the challenges that are involved in the valuation of the digital assets. And of course, he also spoke about all the M&As, and he also emphasized that the token deals and the crypto deals are only a subset of the blockchain. And in the beginning of the session, he also spoke about how blockchain is going to contribute. Where all blockchain can be used. It will be used in public administration. It will be used in education. It will be used in healthcare. And he answered a whole host of questions that was posed by the participants. Thank you very much, Harsh, for a wonderful session this morning, and we most certainly look forward to the presentation. I'm sure we'll be able to learn more about the token mergers, the M&As, and all the detailed write-up that you have given on the initial coin offerings, including the crypto valuations. So thank you very, very much. And we look forward to another session from you, where we can, now that we understand that you are a part of these deals, so we want you to, share those experiences that you gather over a period of time as to what happens in these deals, because it is still very new. So somewhere I have actually read that, every smart person that I admire in the world, and those I semi-fear, they are focused on this concept of crypto for a reason. They understand that this is the driving force, or the fourth revolution. The first was the steam engine, then there was electricity, then there was the microchip, and now this is the blockchain and crypto, which is the fourth revolution. So it is like, somebody who is technically sound, they'll say, I don't care about the money. If I need money, I just make a token. So I guess we are in that world right now. So thank you very much, one and all, for being a part of BVA this morning. Thank you once again, and please fill up the feedback form. There are some issues with the feedback form. We are working on correcting it, but please, I know we request you to kindly fill up the feedback form so that it will help us to provide better sessions to the participants. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kusum, for your kind words. And my apologies again, all of you. We stretched the session by about 30 minutes. The time was only 9. I was supposed to go out, but then it was interesting. It became interesting when more and more number of questions were being asked. And my apologies for stretching this session by a bit, but I hope this was helpful. I hope this will help, and looking forward for many more sessions to come. Thank you so much, all. Thank you for your time, and thanks for the appreciation, Kusum.
Thank you, everybody. I'll end the session now. Thank you. Have a good day and a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.